Got it?
Okay, now we're working.
Woohoo! Hello, everybody. So good to see you.
Hi, guys. I'm going to introduce my best friend, the host of Energized Living Today and Intuitive Channel, Cindy Kubica.
Hello, everybody. So good to see you. And thank you so much, Ferris. I am so looking forward to this. And of course, Lorelei Robbins is here. Nancy Shobe is here. Both of them were born October 3rd. They are Libra. I am Pisces. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this goes. And also, I am a Libra moon. So we've got a lot of Libra going on here and we like balance. So it's going to be cool to see how all this goes today. Now, the way that I want to start is with a meditation. And I think it's really important for those of you who in our community on a regular basis, you've seen that I've, or you've done this meditation before with the energy ball and the number 7 and really bringing in that energy, inviting that spiritual energy in. And so I decided that that really felt right to do again here today. So let's go ahead and get started. If everyone will just get themselves comfortable. And I want you to move yourself just a little bit. If you move your shoulders, this year is about getting comfortable in your own seat. In other words, in your own butt. So when you're sitting there, you've got to be comfortable in that seat of yours. This is, in yoga, they call it your sit bone. So get comfortable in that because this is a year where we go inward. This is a year, a 7-year to go inward, to learn, to let go of the ego, to let go of what we think we know and invite in the collective consciousness, new spiritual understanding, and really connecting to our own guidance system inside. So move your shoulders now. You moved your butt around a little bit. Move your shoulders, move your head from side to side. We're going to drop it forward, bring up that ear until it's over the right shoulder, and drop again to the other side until the ear is over the shoulder. And again, roll your head forward. This time, allow your head just to linger over top that shoulder for just a moment, releasing any tension that you have in your neck. If you would like, you can bring your hand up and just pull gently, releasing any tension on the left side. And release. Bring your head to the other side, roll it. Left ear over left shoulder. Again, just a gentle, gentle pull. This year is all about gentle. Pull down if you want to. Nothing harsh, nothing rushed about this year. Come to the center, head up, and take in a nice, gentle breath. And release. This time breathe in on the count of 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Release. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, breathe in on the count of 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Release. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring your hands up to the heart center. Call in the energy from the north, the south, the east, the west. Call in the energy of all of the elements. Call in your guides. Call in your guides from heaven and earth, from the universe, from Gaia. And ask that all this beautiful energy, along with this universal energy, meet our hands at the heart center. The center of love, the center of us, the center of our beingness. Feel that energy grow in your hands. Your hands might already start to tingle. Your fingertips will tingle. Your thumbs will tingle. Allow yourself a moment to just feel the tingling in your hands. Breathe naturally. Now bring your hands together, and as you do, feel love for the whole of the world. And rub your hands together, thinking of the world, thinking about your inner world, holding your heart center and all this beautiful energy right there in front of you in your palms. As you begin to feel the heat, that energy that you started feeling, that tingling that you started feeling, expands. Now bring your hands apart. And as you do, notice in your mind's eye that there is a change in your energy ball. Right in the center of your energy ball is the number 7. We are in a 7 universal year. This is a year of going inward, the year of really understanding what we are made of, the year where we let go of our ego and say, I can learn from someone else. It's time for me to get quiet, to get comfortable in my seat. And not that we shouldn't go outside, but spend time every day just getting really quiet, going inside, getting to know the 7 within you, the universal energy within you. And this universal energy, as we do this work, we connect to the collective consciousness. This work is never just about us. It is about the whole of humanity. When we shift, the world shifts. Feel that energy expand as love from you finds its way right into the middle of this energy ball. And it continues to expand. And we're sending love into the world. Allow your hands to just drift apart to however big this energy ball is for you. Do you feel it? Do you feel the electricity in your fingers, in your palms? Do you feel it? Now start to push inwards. As you do, you're releasing some of that electricity that you're feeling some of that 7 energy. And now it begins to flow out in front of you, out to the world, entering into the prayer wave that circles around and around and around the world, finding every stream, finding every ley line, every river, every ocean, every heart, every soul, filling each individual with transformational love, the love of oneness. But as you push, you're going to feel something else. That energy is also entering into you, into your heart center. And you can feel that connectiveness with the rest of the world. This is how we create global change. This is how we change our own understanding of the world. Continue to bring your hands together. Know that energy is always there. And you are now sharing it with the whole of the world, connecting to your heart. Every guide, every angel, everyone who loves you, who's there for you, helping you on this journey with the heaven and the earth and all of the elements and the directions. Please say now, and so I receive, and so it is, and so it will be. Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. When you're ready, just allow your hands to drift down into a relaxed position. Start to move your head. Breathe nice and gently. Roll your shoulders. And again, your little sits bones, roll them around a little bit, bringing awareness back into your body. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Let's take a nice deep breath together. I'm so excited that all of you are here today. And, this really shows me that we're interested in what's next for us. And here's the really cool thing. Each and every one of us have the opportunity to influence this energy by doing our own work. That's what the 7's all about. It's about us. This is selfish time, but it's not really selfish because it goes out to the whole of the world. So know that this world is about you. And if you feel like just staying home, staying in your own chair, that's really cool. Make it productive by really checking in with what's going on the inside and learning, growing. It's such a beautiful thing. So what I want to do is start off our conversation by asking, introducing, first of all, our guest hosts here today. And let's go ahead and start with Nancy. Let's see, Nancy, where are you? Hi. We're going to start with Nancy. And Nancy is an intuitive medium. And I want to talk just for a second about that why is that different from a psychic medium? We hear psychic medium, but intuitive medium is really what you like to go by. And I just want everybody to get a sense of what that is.
Sure. For me, I focus most of my work on mediumship. So mediumship, probably all of you know, but it's working with loved ones who are coming in from the other side or sides or dimensions. And then intuitive is also psychic work, but it's more, I kind of consider it kind of more soul work, where your soul's headed, or just kind of a more internal, not necessarily a day-to-day thing. And I like to add inspirational because I think that's kind of one of my core values. Is really, I love to work with people and inspire them and give them hope, and like they can do it. I'm a cheerleader.
That's great. Well, if there's, Nancy, if there's one overarching statement for this year that you can really pare down the energy, what would that be?
Oh my God, when you said that, I felt like I was going to break into tears. That's so weird.
And that would be the energy.
Yeah.
We've got that full moon in Cancer.
It's like, whoa. And I am a Cancer moon, and it's a Cancer full moon tonight. So that's part of my deep feeling right now. Really, it has a lot to do with like what your meditation really talked about, is peace and inner stillness. And not really even worrying about being productive, just not worrying, just taking every moment as just a delight that you're here and that you get to experience it, whether it be wonderful or not so wonderful. It doesn't matter. Just sit with it and fall into it instead of moving away from it. So I think it's just not even to be within, just to be in the moment, to be in the feeling, to be in, just be in, just think about that.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's bring on Lorelei Robbins. I think everybody pretty much knows Lorelei. Hi, Lorelei.
Hello. I was digesting what Nancy just said. Digesting is a great Cancer word. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you are a spiritual astrologer, and that, I was talking to another friend and they said, you are so motivational. I listen to a lot of other astrologers, and what you do that's different is you really get us to think on a different level. You put so much wisdom, spiritual wisdom in what you do that it takes it to a whole new level. And I love that about you. So do you want to tell everybody just a little more about you and how you got to that place as an astrologer?
Well, I think it was like a combo plate, because there's so much data when you look at a chart, but when you really look at someone's chart from the perspective of what is going to light this person up and connect them to themselves at the deepest soul level, and to be able to live and to operate from that place, I think I bring my skills as a counselor, as an interviewer. I had a personnel business for years. So when I work with people, it's really getting information from them that I feed back through their chart and then deliver the information back to them, like reflect it back to them. So, and that's evolved over the years. I mean, every astrologer has their own unique way of practicing the art, if you will. But I find that, I talk about your cast of characters, and the more we give conscious voice to these different parts of us, like honoring, this is a Cancer full moon, it's honoring all of this. And as Nancy said, it's about feeling, it's about allowing anything to come up that allows us to get more in touch with how we're really wired on a feeling level. So I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited for everyone who's here. I would just invite everyone quickly, again, if you didn't already, set an intention for yourself, and like, what do you want to walk away with? Maybe it's a piece of information. Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's I can do that, or I'm not going to do that. Just something where you go, boy, if I could walk away from that event with this, it would have been well worth the price of admission, which of course is free.
And we like free. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I take it that is kind of your overarching statement to everybody.
Yeah, I guess just the one thing I would want to add, I think we're all being called more than ever to shine our light in each of our own unique, individualized fashion, to be a beacon of light, and I'm calling myself now a bundle of joy, a beacon of light, and a ray of hope. If I can go out into the world and be that every day, no matter what I'm doing or any of us are doing. But again, it's like in our own way and being true to that, Jupiter, being true to that spark inside each one of us. That's what I would want to intend for all of us for this year.
That's really beautiful. And that is our theme, which is living light and being a living light for others, and living light, getting rid of clutter around you, anything that does not serve you. That's including relationships and everything, which is why this is back here. If you look right in back of me, I have this lantern. We are the guiding lights. And if each one of us would do that, it connects to the whole. So I love that, Lorelei. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
And I just want to give my overall statement of what I see for this year and what I hear. For those of you who don't know me, I see visions, and I have since a near-death experience when I was 10. Nancy's also had a near-death experience, and Lorelei has had a near-death experience. Ferris has had a near-death experience. So it awakens you to a new understanding, and new skills awaken within you. It is a perfect year, the 7-year, for us to embrace whatever gifts have been given to us and learn to trust them. This is a year where, as I listen to the voices, again, I hear things, I see things, and I hear these voices that are muffled as if they're under the water. I hear voices as if they're behind closed doors and they're trying to work things out. And you hear some, heated discussions but people are behind the doors and they're talking. They're talking. And part of that conversation that each of us are having is with ourselves. Behind that closed door, that shadow self that we don't want to look at, that's that door that we have to open. We have to allow that muffled voice to be heard. And then we start seeing this beautiful growth, this light, as Lorelei was saying. So that's what I'm seeing for this year. And Lorelei, I would like to go ahead and have you start the next part of this, which is to tell us about this year. What is it that we can expect?
Well, I want to talk about the Cancer full moon.
Or excuse me, first we're going to talk about what's going on now, the cosmic weather, and then.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm starting off with the microcosm here, which is what we're all having an opportunity to sort of personally experience in this energy of the Cancer full moon. And, as most of you know, every full moon is an opportunity to balance opposite energies. I like to think of it as sitting on the fulcrum of being a Libra, sitting on the fulcrum of a seesaw with, one end, in this case, Cancer, which is all about our internal life, our feelings, our emotions, all of those, what comes from deep, deep inside on a very personal level. And then Capricorn, Sun in Capricorn, which is all about the outer world, which is all about what experience people have of us. It's a beautiful opportunity to balance the internal mommy and daddy energies, the mother and father energies, because no matter what your experience was as a child with your own parents, whether they're now in the body or they've made their transition, at some point, each one of us takes over for our parents, and we then learn or not how to parent ourselves. And every time we have a full moon in Cancer Capricorn, that is the access that we get to access. In other words, the two sides of the same coin. In other words, my inner security is Cancer and my outer security is Capricorn. One of the most conscious expressions of Cancer energy, because remember, at a full moon, emotions are up. It's easy to overreact. And especially when the moon is in Cancer, we have that opportunity to have something happen where we react and then take a breath and then choose to respond. Because when Cancer energy is centered within itself, and this is the opportunity I believe we all have now with the full moon in Cancer, is to harness this energy. There is a vulnerability. And that is really where we connect with people. We connect in our vulnerability. We connect in those shared human emotions that everybody feels, no matter who you are, what your status is, what your money is. There are certain, core emotional experiences or feelings that we all have. And so one of the statements from A Course in Miracles that I love, that so to me speaks to this higher consciousness expression of Cancer energy, is in my defenselessness, my safety lies, because Cancer is so much about safety. And of course, the safety being ultimately inside. So no matter what, again, the issues were as a child, if there were abandonment issues, at some point we decide if we're going to be there for ourselves and not abandon ourselves. What makes this full moon really powerful is that it's very close to Sirius, the star, the spiritual sun. And so that amplifies the Cancer energy of old stuff could be up for you now, like really old patterns, old ways of defining yourself, old ways of being, outdated versions of self, where you go, God, am I still holding on to that? Boy, that's kind of an infantile pattern, or that's, that comes from a childish place. My point is, I'm underlining this because that's what's up now. I was telling the folks before, my cat actually threw up at the exact moment of the full moon, which I thought was so telling, because at a full moon, we basically get to release. That's, with things, we see things under a brighter light and we can release them. So I heard him gagging and I went, oh my God, it's the moment of the full moon. He's so tuned in. So I guess the reason I'm sharing that is there's an opportunity now for you to release even more so than a typical full moon, because this full moon is next to Sirius. So it just amplifies the opportunity of being able to feel safe enough to let the old emotional stuff go, whatever that is, wherever that emotional imprint is comfortable, because that's real Cancer. Cancer's sentimental, Cancer's home and family, as most of you know, of course. And again, is the most nurturing, caring sign in the zodiac, and also extremely intuitive, being a water sign. So I wanted to underscore the importance of this particular full moon, given the dance it's doing with Sirius now. And then just the two other things that I just want to share, if you don't feel that you've started the year yet, like, God, why can't I'm doing this, but why isn't it quite moving yet? We entered the year with two of the personal planets, both communication, Mercury, and Mars, the planet of action, which has been in retrograde since the end of October. So there's a lot of rewords now, reorientation, reevaluation, reworking, Mars is in Gemini, my old story, letting the old story come up to be able to change the story. And Mercury's in Capricorn. So again, it's like, what's the plan? And letting the information come in that you might not have yet. So, if there's any judgment going on, or you're going, why isn't this going yet? It's already the 6th of January. Just know the energy will shift next week. Mars goes direct on the 12th. And then on the 18th, Mercury goes direct. And then on the 21st of January, Uranus goes direct. And then all the planets are direct, I think, for 2.5 months. I think until May. Is it? Yeah, let's see, February, March, April. Anyway, for a long time, longer than that usually is, meaning we're all sort of getting, I believe, sort of getting ready to launch these new aspects of ourselves in service to the collective, being more true to self with Jupiter and Aries. Jupiter is in Aries now. Jupiter's going to whiz through Aries and leave Aries in May. So between Jupiter being in Aries, all the planets being direct after the 21st of January, it's like allowing this preparation time, and this reconsidering, have fun with the rewords. I always do. And I'll go, oh my God, there's another reword. Meaning if a reword comes into your life, there's something there, there's some gift there if you want it. It's like the word itself might all of a sudden open up something inside you where you go, oh my God. So it'll even be interesting to see what happens tonight in terms of the rewords that get tossed around. So it's a very exciting time, but it's more of an introspective time right now, even though in terms of the Gregorian calendar, we've, quote, started the year. We really haven't started the year yet from a cosmic perspective, in my opinion. So that's my share.
Okay, I've got a question because a reword just came into my head, which is an odd word, reconstitute.
Oh.
And I started thinking about that and I thought, how many water things have been showing up lately? All the, so that is a really interesting word that just floated to my brain, and I'm literally floated into my brain, and I'm wondering what that means to you.
That's a really good question. To constitute something, I mean, is to build it in some way. I mean, in other words, and if we reconstitute something, we're redoing it or rebuilding it, or I mean, that's the first thing that came to me as I was going to put it into Google and to see what, because, again, I think there are different meanings, but the first thing that comes to me is to constitute something is to, I don't know, make it real, make it tangible. I'm not sure. I mean, that's what comes to me. And reconstituting it would be to remake it or
add water.
rebuild it in some way, but I am going to look it up.
Okay. And Nancy, what does that mean to you?
It's what I heard immediately was reflex.
Oh,
So for me, it's like it's getting the strength to rebuild. That's what, when you said reconstitute, I heard reflex. So for me, that's the combo platter, is that we have to have the inner courage to rebuild.
Reconstruct here, build up again from parts. Yeah, it's like the parts are all around and we get to reconstitute, somehow bring the, reconstruct them in a way that's more in keeping with the truth of who we are now.
Right. It's our inner Legos.
I love that. And for me, as you're talking, it really reminds me of so many of us have felt heavy for the last few years. There's been so much going on, so much chaos that bringing, what's water? Water's new life. We can exist without food. We can't exist without water. So reconstituting, is bringing life back in to the body that we felt like we've lost. We felt like things were out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
So, that comes to mind. We'll have to let that percolate in the background. So let's go ahead and move on to Nancy. And Nancy, I would love to hear what you are seeing for this new year. Thank you, Lorelei.
Yeah, thank you, Lorelei. That was beautiful and so thought-provoking too.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
for that. Wow. I mean, I just like so many things were coming at me and different. So it's like so out of control almost. It's not like in this, I'm usually very orderly. I have a lot of Virgo in me, even though I'm a Libra. And I usually like have little like boxes and it was just like flying out. So do you want me to just start with things that I'm seeing, or where do you want to go? Cindy, do you want to go back and forth, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me see.
Well, I can tell you where I started.
Okay, why don't you start there? And you just said something really, really, really important, which is it's all over the place. This 7 year is about going inside and reordering. You're redecorating. There's another reword. You're redecorating, reconstituting, looking at that 7 energy going, okay, spiritually, where do I sit and what do I believe? This spiritual leader says this one says this, but what do I believe? What am I made of? So there has been a lot of confusion. So that reordering makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, it was like so unlike me, but
Wow.
whatever. I just went with it. Because that's what we have to do this year, is just go with things.
Yeah.
So I immediately went over the pond. So I don't know why I did, but I did. And the first thing that came to me, which was like, why is this so important, was that Prince Charles is going to have major health issues this year. And that his reign, King Charles, his reign won't be that long. I do feel like he will reign for a couple more years, but I don't feel like he's going to. Ironic, because there's so much rain. It's weird. I just like realized the rain and the rain. Yeah. So I don't see that lasting very long, and I see William coming into power probably within the next 2 to 3 years. And why I was like, why Prince Charles? I have no idea why. It just came to me. I don't know.
And what's so interesting is it was one of the very first things that I got to.
Really? So
you said over the pond, but when we were getting started, I told you that I'm seeing all these storms overseas. So it's not here in the U.S., it's across the pond, across the seas, somewhere else other than the U.S. Not that they're not storms here, but I see some potential big ones there for change.
Yeah, it's interesting, because immediately my visions just took me over the outside of here, which is not usually what happens. Usually it starts kind of more, around the U.S. or in the neighborhood, and then I go into the U.S. But now this took me across. And I also felt that I think Prince Harry is kind of putting an axe in his family relations, which actually makes me sad, because what I keep feeling is as he gets older, he's going to wish that maybe things were a little different. But it's, of course, there's never just one side. There's always two sides. So it's just sad. I think this book that he's coming out with, that I think is releasing next week, called The Spare, I think it's just gonna, unfortunately, it's just gonna rile the roost a bit. And it's just sad, because I feel like, if anything, my heart goes out to Harry, because I feel like he needs, he lost his mom when he was young. Like, I feel like he needs so much nurturing and mothering and everything. And so it's kind of like, oh, you just want to, even personally, it must be my Cancer moon, but I want to protect him. Like, I wish I knew him, like, so I could like just kind of help talk to him about things or whatever. But anyways, I just, it's, yeah. And also, who was saying this earlier? I think during your meditation, or when you were talking, Cindy, you were talking about like muffled voices being heard. And I feel like that's Prince Harry. He feels like his voice, he's always had a muffled voice and it hasn't been heard. So I feel like this is his way to really try to be coming into himself. But unfortunately, I just feel like the ramifications aren't going to be so great.
I really understand being the second child in the family. And for those of you who are the second, you may really understand this, that you're the spare. You're the you know, the throwaway kid. That's what I felt like a lot of times. Like I didn't matter. My sister was all that and more. And I get that energy. So when you said the title, it kind of hit me like, whoa, I get that.
Wow, well, that's interesting. I was the third child, but which you would think would be the real toss away, like who cares? We're done parenting. But because there was two boys, and then I was the coveted girl. So, like my dad said, he was going to keep having kids until he had a girl. So the girl came along, So I never felt that because I had, two brothers, so it was different that way. But I always felt like really wanted. Yeah,
That's
but
beautiful.
I could see how. And it's, and it is true. It is called the spare, like in royalty. And it is, I had a man I used to raise money from who said that he and his wife consciously chose to have 3 children because if any of them died, they would still have at least 2.
Wow.
And I was like, God, I never even thought about that when I had kids. Like, didn't even cross my mind, So I'm like, wow, it's interesting what different choices people make.
I just wanted to add something about Prince Harry.
Sure.
Because it's really interesting when of course, yes, he lost his mother early, et cetera. Well, not et cetera. I'm not making light of that at all. But it's interesting because Meghan Markle is a Leo with Cancer rising and Mars in Cancer. So she has a lot of Princess Diana's energy because Princess Di was a Cancer with Leo rising. So all I'm saying is I personally believe he has found a certain safety, if you will, and belonging and vulnerability and has been able to heal a lot of that mom stuff with her help. I'm just looking at it astrologically. That's just how it's always seemed to me when I see them. But astrologically, it sort of plays out as well, because here's this, she's no, she'll stand up to anyone, Meghan, but you can feel the Cancer energy in her. You can feel the sensitive, the mothering, anyway. So I just wanted
protection. The protection.
The protective. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just sad. It's sad that I feel like the choice is being made. It's sad there has to be a choice is what makes me kind of sad about the whole thing.
I'm feeling like the whole royal family, that things are going to start really changing. I feel a lot of shift there, and why this is important to all of us. And by the way, thank you for that, Lorelei. It really gives a lot of clarity to what's going on, but it just feels like, people want let in. They don't want things behind that closed door anymore. They want to be let in. They want to know the secrets. Everywhere, and I think that they're going to have a huge effect on everybody. I think that's why it came to both you and me first. It's like, why the royals? Of all the things going on in the world, why the royals?
That's what I was like.
Somebody threatening nuclear disaster, we go to the royals? Really?
Give me something more important. That's what
But it is important because eyes do look, they get a lot of media. A lot of people look to them, and they are well respected. So, and again, I just want to say, if you think of a question, go ahead and put it in chat. We're not going to take questions until a little bit later, but Marielle, you can keep your hand up and we'll get to you in a little bit here.
Do you want me to keep going or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a question. Just to mention, Nancy, the book is already out in Spanish.
Oh, it isn't. Oh, that's interesting.
And the English newspapers got it back translated back to English.
Huh. That's interesting that they put it out in Spanish first.
It's a mistake.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. Is it though? There are no mistakes, right? So there was some reason. What, Lorelei?
There's retrograde for you.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. I'm feeling it'll be interesting what you're getting on this. I'm getting the Ukraine and Russia. It's going to be more of the same. I'm just getting that it's like a stalemate. It's not a stalemate. That's the wrong word. I know that's actually a military word and stuff. So, but it's just like there's going to be no. I just keep seeing it like going in this kind of continued fashion of it's like I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Vietnam, how Vietnam just started, like almost like, how do we get out of it at some point? And that's what I'm feeling about Ukraine and Russia. What about you?
What I'm getting for them is, they had an opportunity to end this last fall, and I felt like there was a turning point there, and they made a decision to keep going.
They did. Mm-hmm.
And there was an opportunity for them to stop, and that decision changed. What I saw at that time, and you know me, I draw pictures. So let me get my picture up that I actually drew of this. And by the way, for those of you who aren't with us regularly, I draw pictures, and sometimes it's months before these come to pass and they make sense. So I shared this with everybody, a while back, and I'm going to tell you my new understanding of it. Let me just find it here so I can get it for everybody. Okay, Ferris, how do I do this? Is it going to let me? It's just asking me, Ferris, to, if only host. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, I got it. Sorry. Let's see.
I'm glad I could help.
Yeah, Finder. Now, I go to Finder, right? Can everybody see my laptop now?
We got it.
Okay, great. I saw this back in July, and this is Putin, and I saw him unblinking, and he was questioning himself. What am I doing? He was stunned. Is he going to be in a coma? Is he dying? He just looked so shocked by everything that was going on, and I kept seeing him like that, like I didn't know what this was about, and I heard Trump, and I think he turned to him for some advice, even, which is unusual for him to turn to someone else for advice. But he was looking for, okay, how do we move this forward? And then the next thing that I saw was these numbers started coming up, and these are the actual numbers, but then I started seeing these symbols, and it started with null, and I didn't know what that meant. I had to look it up. I didn't know that meant nothing. And these were some of the symbols that I started seeing, and I thought, what country is this? Because this was the nuclear code in English, how we would write it. And then I started seeing these symbols, and I'm not saying these are exactly it, but numerology, there's meaning here. And we start with, okay, this first number 4 is stability. Now we're in a 7 year, like he felt stable, and then he started feeling unstable. Here's the number 7 where you got to go inside and start all over again. That's that number 1. And then he's faced with that 7 again, the 2, okay, and he's continuing on until we get all the way to 9, which is completion. And so I've been looking at this, trying to get the whole message, but it isn't here yet. He realizes just how serious this is. He's thinking nuclear. I see people around him Nancy and Lorelei, I see all these people talking to him, telling him no, 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 trying to give him direction, but his ego is so big, he doesn't want to listen. And he's being pushed a lot. So that's the way that I see this. The nuclear code, I'm still decoding the whole thing to see what that means, but this is exactly what came through, and it came in day after day after day after day. And after that is when I knew this was December 1st, when I started seeing this, and I knew that the shift had been made. He was going to keep this going.
And if you add the whole thing up, it adds up to 7.
Did it really?
Yeah.
That gives me chills. I didn't even think to do that.
I did my math right. Granted, it was in my head, but
Whoa. Okay. Did you want to add anything to that, Lorelei?
No, I'm just taking it in.
Okay. And this happened during Sag energy. So I kept thinking about that, because that's, that energy is, I think of it as the wanderer, going out and exploring the world and trying to discover new ways of doing things. So that real mindset started kicking in during that time. I don't know if I read that right. Astrology, I know just enough to be dangerous. So that's kind of the way I was looking at that.
well, and what I believe is he went into this to become like a world leader. He is a world leader, but to become more powerful. And it's not quite turned out the way he hoped. So how do you extricate yourself from that? It's a difficult one.
Yeah. Okay. And one question that we have here is, are you going to be talking about the effects of Pluto going into Aquarius? I actually think this is a real good time to talk about that, since we were just talking about war, talk about death and rebirth.
Yeah, well, Pluto enters Aquarius for the first time on March 23rd of 23. Then this is just setting the parameters for folks that want to know these things. Then retrogrades back into Capricorn on June 11th, because I wanted to look this up earlier, and then goes into into Aquarius on January 21st of 24 for the next 20 years. Until 44, until January 19th of 44, if anybody's interested in that date.
Wow.
So again, wherever Pluto is where we see reconstruction, is where we see the breakdown of that which has outlived its purpose. So certainly with Pluto in Capricorn, we saw and have been seeing, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when Pluto goes back into Capricorn for that period of time. But the breakdown of the hierarchy, of the structures, of those authority figures that define us, all of that. And so Aquarius is about science, it's about technology, it's about space, it's about humanitarianism, it's about civil rights. So these would all be areas where, we might see significant changes over these 20 years. And in terms of on an individual level, Aquarius is all about being an individual. I mean, it's about being, again, it's that true to self, but it's that, again, that unique spark of the divine basically is very Aquarian. And so we'll all have that opportunity, I think, probably to transform from the inside out. What's your sense, Nancy, of that?
Completely agree. Well, a lot of what I've gotten has actually been about science and technology. So we can move forward with that after this, but definitely, I mean, you're so right on with it's the divinity within.
Yeah. And also, because Aquarius represents the collective. So we'll see a shift there, and it's groups, I heard this term, somebody used the term of destiny communities, the people who are on the same page about whatever. So a lot of power in the group process and being able to align with, one's tribe, essentially, I think is indicated over the next, over this next period of time. Again, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was about 248 years ago. I think it was
Revolution. Mm-hmm.
1778 to 1798.
Mhm.
And so going back there just to see what happened, to see, where the revolution was then and where the revolution can be in the next 20 years. So it'll be, interesting to see exactly what unfolds when Pluto's in Aquarius.
Yeah. And, it's interesting because I was just looking for my notes that we're being called to do this inner work because it's going to be all about community next year. Like it's going to start but if we don't do the inner work and like you said, find our tribe, then we're not going to get into the right community. So it's like we have to do this to move on to 2024 in the right arena.
Yeah, and tremendous opportunity again for transformation within communities of like-minded folks, like really, being able to sweep away a lot of the stuff that has outlived its purpose, which is what Pluto is about, and actually connect, heart to heart and soul to soul in that, in that group arena, whatever that is. So it'll be interesting to see the groups that people and the friendships, because again, Aquarius is about friendship, that people are attracted to, and what the meaning of friendship is, I think will also sort of come on the table for folks to really look at, what level of depth, what does it mean to be a friend, and so that's just another, this is going to play out on so many different levels.
And when we're in our tribe, there's less conflict within ourselves and within the group. So there's more love. So that just automatically just puts a lot more love onto the earth.
Right.
I'm also getting, and again, looking at the energy or feeling this energy for this year. I feel the muffle, and then comes the fall. And then it's like somebody opened the door or popped up from underneath the water. So we're starting to hear them again, starting to hear from people again, entering into 2024. I hear louder voices and people are starting to talk again. People who have been divided through all of this conflict people that have these loving relationships. I can't tell you how many people I know that have separated over this whole thing. Just a lot of relationships have been destroyed over this division that we've had. Those people I hear are coming back together again. They're starting to talk about how both sides got to where they are in their beliefs. Does that make sense? And does that align with what's going on astrologically?
Yeah, to me, that very much speaks to Pluto in Aquarius, even though it's not here yet. I mean, you feel the energies way before they happen. And in a sense, it's already sort of operative because Pluto moves so slowly anyway. But yeah, that makes total sense what you said.
So Ferris, I have a question for you. Can you create a dance called the muffle? So we can all do as we're muffling through the beginning of this year.
And that's what it feels like. We're going to be muffling through this year, but then when that door opens, lot of clarity. People will start talking again. Really important for people to talk, and not just to get locked into your. What I'm getting, Nancy, is for people not to just get locked in their own tribe, because then it's more of the same. We have to talk to people that feel differently and start really expressing, I feel this way because, and why do you feel the way you do? What brought you to that? And getting people to talk again. And that's how you talk about the rewords, revive relationships.
Well, it's the commonality. essentially. It's finding the common ground between all of us as human beings, no matter how old we are, what our race, what our, any of that. It's the common, what's common among all in humanity. And, very powerful energy for you, Ferris, because you're a very early Aquarian. You're the 22nd, right, of January?
Yeah. Oops, can't hear you, Ferris.
Whoops, I just muted myself. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
it just flashed in my head about you're coming into a very powerful cycle.
Look at all that power.
Like it's just oozing out of Ferris.
He's pondering it. His Scorpio energy is being pondering it.
Yeah, I am raw power.
You are raw power.
Exactly.
I'm not even going to go there, Ferris. I'm unpinning you now.
Thank you so much.
You can be the model of Aquarius energy.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Okay. Nancy, I'm going to let you continue and
Sure.
then.
Yeah, I wasn't getting very clear on this. I was getting that China's going to be our biggest threat. And I couldn't get much more info, which is unusual for me. But I do feel like it's underground. I want to say like it's not something that we're going to see overtly. It's very covert, is what I'm feeling. And I do feel like it's going to be weird. I'm hearing subvert, but I'm hearing like it's going to be in ways, well, through technology, through things that we may not think about, or it's going to be a very unusual sort of threat to us. So I just keep hearing like keep our ears open, and I'm hearing literally our ears. So I don't know why I'm hearing that, but
Well, that goes back to the muffled sound and then the sound coming back again. And I want to share again what I drew. This was back in, let me see here, I can't see it, 10/7, is I started seeing these soldiers, but I didn't know why their arms were to the side. And Ferris, again, that's called not at ease, but
Port arms.
port arms. Okay, so they're not actively fighting, but they're ready. They're on the ready. And I felt their energy. And this keeps showing up for me. Like this has been showing up again and again and again and again. Let's see. Could this, and my question mark up here was war. Was this a war? Is this a consideration? Is this but it doesn't feel like a war with guns. The guns are at port arms, but there are many other ways that we can have a war. And cyber wars are big right now. So that's what I'm wondering if this means. If that's what that means. So any feeling on that, either one of you?
no, Lorelei, do you get anything about?
No, I don't. I was just, as you were talking, I was just thinking, it takes 144,000 people of the same consciousness to shift the consciousness. So it's almost like really attracting like-minded souls to be able to shift some of the energies that we may be seeing that may be really frightening.
Right. And Cindy and I talked about this before we even got on too, is that like choices we're making now are really going to affect 2024. I mean, they always do, but in an even bigger and greater way than normal. So it's kind of, I mean, we feel things and there's things coming, but there's also choices that can be made within that framework. So, and like you said, 144,000?
144,000, yeah.
Right. That's not that many people, really, when you think about it. I mean, it's a city of Santa Barbara and 1.5 cities of Santa Barbara. It's not that many people. So we can do it. We can affect change.
On New Year's Eve, which is Gary's and my anniversary, our 24th anniversary. And I walked in the kitchen and it was right at midnight. And I thought, I want a little something to eat, but I couldn't quite get what it was I wanted. And I heard olive. And I thought, olive, okay. Then I got out the olives and I pulled out a couple of olives and then I heard 7. And so I pulled out 7 olives and I ate them between, the last day and then New Year's. Over that time, I ate 7 olives. And I thought, well, what does that mean? And I didn't even think about the olive branch. And what does it mean to extend the olive branch?
Wow.
Peace. And I see this very clearly. Let's if we really want peace, to extend that olive branch. And again, I didn't even get that an olive and an olive branch, of course it's the same thing, but I looked it up and it said peace and I went, yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's what I was saying before, is communicating with each other, coming together with what we have in common, which is love for each other.
I thought you were going to say it was like, I love Gary.
Okay. Oh no, here comes the puns.
I was like, okay, this is cool. Yeah, that's interesting. What are you getting about so I heard I'm hearing that more deaths will be prominent with political leaders.
Yes.
And I heard for whom the bell tolls, first of all, and I was like, well, I hope they're not talking about me. Like, whoa, back off. But then I heard that, and I also heard after that the chasm grows wider. So I don't know I don't know what that means, except that I feel like politically it means that some divisions are going to grow wider. So
that is so interesting that you bring that up, because the ash bridge started showing up for me. And a couple of years ago, when I started channeling the 7 storms uprooting humanity, the 4th storm is division. And one of the things I was shown is an ash bridge. And the ash bridge is the only one that is made by man. And it is, you start going across it and it looks like ash, like it's been burned. And there are stairs, 2 sets of stairs that go down that look like DNA, like our DNA strands. And that's how you get down in there. And on one side, it's noisy and you can't think for yourself. And people are telling you how to think, even though you think they're planting thoughts in your head, and they're very noisy. And, they're telling people what they believe. And on the other side, it's very quiet, but it's very judgmental. Mm-hmm. And so when you said that, I started seeing that yesterday when I really started focusing on this, and it was getting wider and expanding, and people were going over to the DNA wondering how they could climb out.
Wow.
How they could get out of there. And I saw the dragons show up. That's why I put this dragon up here, because the dragons will take you to the light. If you can see a speck of light, you can come out of there. Just a speck of light is all it takes to change consciousness. If we each just see that speck of light, we can transform.
That's beautiful.
So
yeah, it's interesting that we see the same thing, and slightly, I like your visual of that.
I've got that drawn out. I just didn't put it up on my.
Well, there's the shining the light again.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
I didn't put it up here, but I've got it drawn in my book here. But I did put up this for that very reason. This is a dragon of light. This is a light being, an angel that shows themselves as a dragon, so they can go down into that chasm and help us see the light and come out.
Wow, look how translucent it looks too on the canvas. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it also looks like water. It kind of looks like Lorelei's background too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also getting, speaking of water, that I kept hearing great surf will be coming to coastal regions. And I feel like that's throughout the world. I don't feel like that's just in the US. Water, 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 water everywhere. And then I heard that it's going to cause people to migrate. I do see like more migration happening. I see people, well, it's probably finding your tribe, like Lorelei said, but people are shifting their locations to find their tribe and to be, where they need to be for the next 20 years.
Mhm.
So I'm feeling like a lot of people like really making the decision, packing up. I'm gonna be somewhere different.
I've been seeing a lot of water, so this makes sense to me. And it also makes sense to me in a couple of other ways. One is I came down to my studio and it was flooded. Like I'm sitting on a puddle of water, everybody, right now. And we've had a couple of leaks in the house from the ice storms, and it flooded underneath my seat here. So I just moved everything and said, this isn't going to stop me, not a little bit of water. Water's our emotions. What does this, one of the things that I see for this year is we're going to be given a lot of symbolism, and we must pay attention to these symbols that are coming up. For instance, the other day Gary and I have our favorite coffee cups, and we got them out, we poured coffee, and we went to sit down. And I look and I said, oh, this is Gary's cup. Somehow I got his. And then I looked in his and he put cream in it, and it was my cup. And I'm like, in all the years that we've been together, we have never switched cups. Not in, the 30 years that we've been together. That has never happened to us. Ferris comes over, we're working on the house, and he brings me a cup of coffee in Gary's cup. And I'm like, okay, we're going to change roles. This is, we're about to shift here. We're about to make a shift, and we're going to change roles somehow. And so I started feeling into that, and I started seeing some of the changes that are taking place. Another, for instance, right now, this big thing with, will Kevin McCarthy get into, become the leader? It isn't necessarily about that. When we look at this, and everybody is, he can't make it. They keep voting. They keep voting, and they keep voting. What are we holding on to? I mean, this is, what dreams are we holding on to, and can we get there? Can we get there, or are we willing to give up, or are we willing to fight for what it is that we want, and not let our ego get in the way? This is a check on our ego. Is this making sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at it from a different point of view than, okay, yeah, we can look at it from the political standpoint, but we can also look at it through symbology. And 70, the 7 year is all about symbols. Water's a symbol. This.
How does the earth speak to us, but in symbols?
There you go. There you go. So if that makes sense to everybody.
It's kind of a wake the heck up year, like, and the people who don't, I feel like some people will get, like, I'm not saying, I feel like COVID's kind of tapering off. So I feel like there is going to be viruses and stuff, but I don't know if I don't know, maybe in the spring, there might be another kind of big COVID push again.
That would not surprise me either. Just, yeah.
Yeah, like kind of, and then I feel like in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to find that it kind of tapers. I'm hoping more. There'll still be flus and viruses and stuff,
and there'll still be COVID. We're living with that. But I also got, in that regard, I got that there is going to be a new understanding for those with long COVID. There's a lot of people that are suffering from long COVID, and that would include me. And I had it January 1st 2020, nobody knew what was even wrong with me. And I've had some issues since then, including my hair falling out and, myocarditis, inflammation of the heart, striations on the right side of my lungs. So I'm a runner and I haven't been able to run again. They're going to come up with new understanding of why some people are affected and why some people are not. Yes, it has something to do with blood type, but I keep seeing the nervous system, because if you look at our website, Energize Living Today, I just put a new thing up there, and one of the drawings that I did today, every bit of it keeps having lightning. And when I started seeing COVID and long COVID, and Lorelei and I were talking about COVID earlier, I keep seeing it looks like lightning, but so does the nervous system.
Right.
And the vagus nerve connects everything. So there is going to be some new understanding with how it affects the nervous system. Well, what is the biggest compromise in my body? I broke my neck. I've had all kinds of problems with my nervous system because of that. So, I started feeling into that, and I really feel there's going to be a new, huge aha.
Yeah, and also I feel like I keep hearing the neurology, the nerve system, and also the endocrine system, because there's so little they really understand about the endocrine system, and a lot of the things it's very endocrine related. So that I feel like those two systems, but I also feel like all the research that's going to come out of this is actually going to help with a lot of other diseases.
I agree.
We're going to have like a mass advancement in medicine. But on the other hand, we're not going to have enough personnel, doctors and nurses. And I do feel like that they're going to be like crying for medical personnel at some point. People just aren't going to choose it. I feel like that they may even subsidize schooling for people to go and get to become doctors, because they leave school with such enormous debt that maybe the government will step in and subsidize part of that education cost or something. I feel like there's going to be something that the U.S. government's going to do to help to deal with this, because it's a very real problem. I'm already hearing it like literally in communities where they can't give big enough signing bonuses. People just won't move. And like for Santa Barbara, because it's so expensive to live. So people are like saying, forget it. I do feel like there's going to be a wave of where we're going to have a hard time having enough medical professionals for the amount of people.
And a lot of people are leaving it, especially after COVID. There's a lot of people that have, and this is even in my own family. My sister walked out with 7 nurses, and the
PTSD over it too.
Yeah, the PTSD over it. It was just, they said they just couldn't believe it. So
yeah, gosh, I don't know how they bless them for sticking in.
She said I came to save lives, and I'm watching people die day after day after day.
Yeah, talk about a war. COVID was one of the biggest wars we've had recently, for sure.
As far as the technology, Lorelei, I want to switch to you for just a second, because astrologically, is there anything going on? I always look for the energy at our back. Whatever's going to move us forward, I don't like to fight the wind. I want to move with the energy. So is there anything astrologically that would help them in these advancements for, long COVID and helping with, from there'll be a lot of other things.
Well, that's a great question.
Okay. I didn't know if you'd see. Yeah.
I would say, because I believe that everything happens in the timing that it is supposed to happen. So the fact that there is this crisis, if you will, going on in the medical community would suggest that there's also, on the other hand, an opportunity in that. in this time frame. Now, whether certainly Pluto and Aquarius can help with that, Saturn and Pisces, it's like redefining a lot of things that in their current definition, they're not working. So, it's like if the problems are presenting themselves, then I believe the solutions are also going to be presenting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't this, talking about Pluto, death and rebirth. So, the dying off of a lot of the, old ways of doing things in the medical community and thinking anew, rebirthing.
Yeah, well, and again,
Yes.
Aquarius is about, yes, inventing and innovative and ingenious. So new ways to approach the medical profession. I mean, the medical profession falls under Pluto, so the fact that Pluto's going into Aquarius could certainly mean brand new approaches, in the technology, in the scientific community, in the medical community, that that individuals come up with, where, I mean, that's what I'm holding for Pluto and Aquarius across the board. But certainly when you talk about the transformation in the medical community, it's like ideas that we don't know yet, that we haven't seen yet, and allowing ourselves to sort of open the doors to that, for those that are going to bring us those innovative ideas that will, shift how it's all working now. Because Capricorn it's got to work a certain way, and it's defined by, well, we see it's dying, it's crumbling, it's not, it certainly is not working. Well, every sign of the zodiac, right, Nancy, is an expression, is a reaction to the sign before it. So Capricorn can be overly rigid and overly, too much defined by what was the patriarchy, the hierarchy, and then comes Aquarius, which says, "Wow, let's have a new thought about this. Why haven't we done it this way?" So I think we're going to see that. I mean, I think the planetary energy of Pluto and Aquarius will support exactly what we're talking about here.
That's interesting. While you were talking, Lorelei, I actually I see the medical industry becoming less personal. So I see like the telehealth and stuff, but I actually just saw, when you go into the airport and you step inside and they go, that thing that like scans you. I actually saw that happening for medical, where there's some sort of full body scanner that the doctor just receives the information and then is able to work off of that. So I feel like it's going to be less in person, and much more technologically based.
I love that idea, that vision, because right now they piecemeal our health.
They do.
Oh, you're just a heart, you're just a set of ovaries,
Right.
You're just a prostate, you're just the boobs, and they don't look at you as a whole. And
they don't
what
talk
you
to
were
each
saying
other.
is a whole. They're scanning the whole of the body. I love that.
And they don't talk to each other. The doctors don't. They piecemeal. And and the other thing that, like, why do they do MRIs where you're flat on your back and you're having to go into this dark tunnel? Like, people freak out. I have a friend that totally just wouldn't get an MRI because she was completely freaked out about going into the machine. Why are we not standing, or, like if you can't stand, like a tilt table or something that allow in a clear thing, like there's got to be a better way to make these machines. So I feel like technology is going to go off the hook in the next 2 to 3 years. I feel like all these little techno nerds, God bless them, they've been home working remotely, probably working 2 hours a day for their $300,000 salary, but they've been like creative, because they're creative. Most of the ones I know in the industry are super creative. So I think that there's going to be like I wouldn't even be surprised if Google goes away and a whole new internet system comes out. I think it's going to blow us away. It's going to be in ways we never imagined.
That's cool. I never, my spidey senses never went in that direction very much. So I really love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it excites me and worries me because I've noticed it's a little harder to get up to date on some of the programs now as I get a little bit older. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a whole new world in that, and that will help medical. And I also just heard you stay on top of medical devices if you want to invest.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. What I want to do now is let's go ahead and have everybody ask questions. We're coming at the bottom of the hour, at an hour and a half. So I want to go ahead and start the questions. Do we want to take like a 2-minute potty break? Is everybody okay? Or do we need to? Everybody's good? Okay, we'll just keep going. If you have to go, go. Or get some water. Keep yourself hydrated.
Go to the bathroom and go. Don't.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we're really loose here.
Well, the floor's already wet.
Yeah.
Already in a puddle.
The thing that unites us all as humans.
Exactly.
You are so right.
Okay, we already covered Pluto and Aquarius. One thing I'm gonna throw in, y'all, China versus the USA. In a way, we are already starting a war, and that is silicon chips.
Yeah.
Everything we use in technology, from TVs to weaponry, requires silicon chips, and we make virtually none here in the U.S.
Well, that's changing.
And if Congress gets all their stuff in one sock and gets a move on, that will be changing soon.
Yeah, good point. Thanks. Thank you.
DJ said, if we all pool our intentions on peace, will this make a difference?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Even if before we go to bed at night, before you fall asleep, just do a couple deep breaths and say peace.
And put it in the prayer wave.
Exactly. Good point.
Mary Gingrich said, are y'all getting anything regarding Taiwan specifically? Because that's a big issue between us and China.
It is. And I'm right now.
It just goes back to the Asian soldiers. I keep seeing them, but they're at port arms. So there's not an active threat there yet, but it's like they're at the ready. And I hope to get more clarity on that, but I do see them there. Like I see the soldiers. So they're at the ready. And that doesn't mean that there'll actually be arms. It could be that it's technological.
Exactly.
So it doesn't, that it could be like this.
Right.
I see it already. One of the things that I found is there are several sites that are very, very popular, have hundreds of thousands of people who are following them. And one is Bright Ideas. And they get your name through that when you like them on YouTube. And then you'll start seeing all this other stuff, this propaganda start to show up once you start following them. And that started happening to me. So I started researching it. And sure enough. So watch what you follow. Yeah. And watch after you like somebody, see what shows up.
Well, I was in a group on Wednesday night, we were talking about Jell-O, and the next morning, all these Jell-O ads showed up on my Facebook. So I'm like, okay, like everyone's listening. I mean, they're listening everywhere.
They are. And that happened to me. I've got this new medicine that I've got to administer once a week. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Ferris, how do I find out what it's like? 0.125 is where I start for the first month, and then it goes up a little bit. So I'm like, I don't know how to even find this on the needle. How do I find this? And I open up my Amazon cart, and here's all these different needles. And I never, ever asked Amazon anything. So they are listening, everybody.
Yeah, we're big.
That just surprised the heck out of me. Something pretty obscure like that. Okay. Other things?
Yeah, DJ also asked, do y'all get anything about med beds?
What is a med bed?
I had to look it up. Apparently, there's rumors going around about some kind of a medical technology bed that does everything.
Huh? Yeah, no, I haven't heard of that.
And apparently it is rumors.
Okay.
Anyway, and Dagmar mentioned there are open MRIs.
They are, but they're still kind of scary.
But they're rare as hen's teeth.
and they can't, a lot of MRIs you can't do in them.
Yeah. Linda G says Africa is going to be big in the area of chip manufacturing, and China is heavily investing in Africa. I was not aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And as Mary Bossé said, Mary, my darling girl, our thoughts create our environment.
Very true.
I'm thinking of a latte.
And Sherry, I wanted to say, yes, the conversation about the needles was in person. Ferris was here. We were standing in my kitchen and we were looking at, my dad was diabetic and he had all of these needles left over. And so I said, don't send me all these needles. I've got like hundreds of needles here. I can just do it myself. And, I gave Dad shots, so I know how to do this. So I said, no, I don't need any training. I just have to find out. His was in units and this is in the ML. So I just had to translate it. And so Ferris and I were talking about that and there it showed up. So yes, they're listening always.
Even on your TV, like things you're saying, the TV's pulling stuff in.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lump a few questions together here. Climate change. Are y'all getting anything in particular on that? I just looked. I'd heard a couple of things today. Sea level change is expected to go up 4 feet by 2030.
Mm-hmm.
That's soon.
There comes the water again.
Yeah, the water.
The water
and the people moving.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I do see mass, great migration. Not like huge countries moving, but like, parts of countries moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And where are things going with world food issues?
Not good. I'm not seeing good things around the food. I think it's going to continue to escalate in price. We're going to continue to have availability difficulties. If you have a green thumb, use it. I'm really feeling like if you have neighbors that have land and everyone can do little neighborhood like swaps of like, I'll grow oranges and you grow this. Whatever you can do, I see food, the prices continuing to go up. I see the water is going to create disasters where agriculture will be washed out is what I'm seeing. Now 2024, I feel like it's going to get better, but I just feel like this year is going to be not so good. What about you, Cindy?
Well, I see it as a good thing. I'm seeing it a little differently. People, yes, there's going to be shortages and people are going to have to go back to their basics, doing things themselves. I've got an indoor grow tent where I can do my own greens. Out of eggs, yes, everybody's out of eggs. The price of eggs are skyrocketing. And but there's a lot of other things that give us protein out there that we can grow. So, have dried beans on hand. Go out, have lots of dried beans. I've got a shelf full of nothing but dried beans. So we'll have that. And then, make sure your basic necessities are all taken care of. And then learn to grow something. Even if it's one plant, you are making a difference. You are shifting consciousness by just having a basil plant, a rosemary plant. The rosemary's evergreen. You can just stick that in the ground and it just keeps growing and it smells so good and good for so many ceremonies and stuff. Rosemary's for remembrance and rubbing your hands, doing deep breathing and really helping shift consciousness by by taking a moment, and it only takes a moment, rub your hands and just do some deep breathing and remember who we are. We are survivors. We have survived worse. And this is another one of those things that isn't anybody's fault. Everybody wants to say it's this person or this person. It is life its own self, and we will be here again.
Mhm.
Now is our opportunity to become conscious and say, what can I do differently? And what was our mascot for last year, January, Ferris?
Tutu.
Yeah, I'll show everybody.
See, I actually remembered his name.
Yeah, it was a squirrel, because a squirrel is really good at, putting their nuts away for the winter for hard times. And so we really felt that strongly. So Tutu was our mascot for 2022. I'm still feeling that. That's why I haven't retired Tutu completely. I still have right here that we still have to be careful, but this is an opportunity. Instead of looking at it from the negative, which is going to bring the collective energy down, let's look at it as an opportunity. We have become so accustomed to just going out and grabbing whatever we want. We think everything is right at our fingertips all the time. Well, now we've got to talk about internal, going into self and saying, what can I do? What am I good at? I might not be good at growing tomatoes, but I can grow, green leafy stuff, and so asking ourselves what we can do to contribute. And that little bit of energy really drives this new consciousness that we can survive, because we can.
Oh, for sure.
We are survivors at our very core. That's what started all the division.
Well,
Different thoughts and that people were having this, everybody was surviving the best they could with all the stuff that was being thrown at them all at one time. We didn't have a chance to sit back and think. Right now, we can do that. It's a quiet year. Sit back, think, go inside, find out what you can do to make a difference.
and also it is going back to basics. Like a nutritionist told me you only need to shop the perimeter of a grocery store.
Yeah.
You should never, unless you need dog food or something, you should never go in the aisles, because that's all processed food.
Yeah.
So and how many, do we need 25 types of tennis shoes or sneakers? We don't need all those choices. So
You've been looking in my closet.
we're going to get back to fewer choices.
Gary and I said, why do we have all these running shoes?
Fun.
We like new running shoes. Our Hokas, I gotta have them. But we're learning to be more conservative, and that's what this is about, going back to basics. And the Native Americans, in fact, one of the things that I didn't scan in was a Native American that is going to come forward. He has his hair pulled over like this, and he has like a ponytail with something hanging down to it. His hair's pretty long, and he's going to end up being very important to us to help us get back to the basics. So turn to the people, to the indigenous people that know these things, that things have been passed down in their families year after year after year. And that doesn't mean just Native Americans. I mean, just, indigenous people everywhere. It's like he is a spokesperson for indigenous people everywhere, going back to the basics, whether it's your cobblers, you come from family of cobblers or woodworkers, or, if they grow food, whatever. I see this person as a spokesperson to help lift people out of there and get creative instead of getting down, get creative.
And the other thing I've heard too is mass transport. They're going to start looking at mass transportation more in the U.S.
That was another thing that I started seeing a little bit about, but I didn't get very far with it. It's just like a look at it. There are some people that are still resisting. Yeah,
because of the money made, but I'm actually hearing that. I have no idea why I heard this. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I heard that electric cars are not what they seem, and that's going to start to come out. And then I heard something about carbon. I have no idea. Carbon, I know they use carbon, to make the actual, the structure of the vehicle. I don't know what that meant, but I heard that that something's going to come out about electric cars, and that there's going to be a new source of something that's people are going to, and they're also at the same time, the US is going to start looking at mass transportation and how can we make that more effective for the masses.
Yeah. I like that. Anything else?
Edith said, when you talk about migration, I think about refugees and war, et cetera. Makes me wonder if there'll ever be a relief from human trafficking.
That's been happening since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And this is not a new problem. This is a problem, I look at it as a bug in the human system. And can we get rid of it completely? Thoughts? Anybody? Thoughts on this?
Well, it's the ultimate misuse of power, obviously. So, it goes right to the root of how power is being wielded, which we can each take a lesson from that in terms of what our own relationship to power is and how do we wield it in the world. I mean, these things that are going on in the world, it's so easy to project onto that, and yet if that's what, Ho'oponopono, if that's what we're seeing out there, then we each have some sort of an opportunity to look at, in my opinion, the microcosm, the macrocosm, anywhere where there has been an abuse or misuse of power in each of our individual lives. So, like you said, it's a bug in the human system. Well, again, if it's healing on an individual level, it will heal on a collective level.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
There's more exposure than there used to be because people are talking about it.
Right.
When I went through a situation in my 20s, and there was a lot of abuse that I was going through at the time, and the cops would come and say, "What'd you do to deserve it?" That was something you didn't talk about. Women just quietly took it, and we really thought it was our fault. And that has shifted, that has changed. People are talking about it like never before. And that is what will empower us. If we talk about it, we bring conscious, people aware of it, and that can help change it. But we can't point fingers at a specific, it's only this group of people or just this group. It happens across the board, everywhere around the world. And it's when we try to blame just one group of people, then we miss the real problem, which is there's a bug in the human DNA that, where this happens. So we've got to look at the collective. Does that make any sense? Everybody, am I saying that right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Jerry asked, have y'all gotten any kind of hits on structures from ancient civilizations being revealed as in Antarctica as the ice melts?
I haven't heard anything.
There's been some discussion about that, but I don't think anything's been completely revealed by this time. Edith said, "I'm getting some new viewpoints on it. Thanks."
Good.
I also have like two more things I just want to add. I keep hearing I should say them. So I'm hearing that Mississippi is going to be in the news. I have no idea why. Maybe it's rising waters or something, but I hear the state of Mississippi or the Mississippi River, but I'm feeling the state of Mississippi will be in the news. And then I'm also hearing there's going to be a freight train disaster that a crash or derailing or something that causes some shipping problems in the US, with us not being able to get something. Not major. It's not going to last forever, but I'm just here. I just heard that. So I'm just throwing those two out there because I was like, no, I'm not going to say them. And I kept hearing, no, you need to say them. So, okay. I listen.
Nancy, I've got a question. You were talking about chasms earlier. Were you seeing that primarily internally, politically internally, or internationally?
I see it more internationally than I do. I think we're doing a lot of work in, here in the US, but I feel it more internationally. Cindy, do you get anything, or Lorelei, about Biden specifically?
About the chasm, or just about him?
About Biden. Yeah, just about him. Because I just kind of get like he needs to be a little careful right now. So I don't know why. I'm just getting like not careful as far as like political decisions he makes, but just like, just
Health-wise?
No, even like just like he needs to be protected a little bit is what I'm feeling. So
I have always felt that.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I mean, I'm not getting specifically health or there's any specific danger or anything. I just keep hearing like he needs people to like bring forward protection for him.
Mm.
And Susan Hayden, you want to come in?
Yes. What? Why?
That you have some questions.
I'm here. I put this in the chat. Does anybody picking up on any? What I wrote in the chat was Supreme Court decisions like Roe versus Wade that will be legal tsunamis in 2023. I don't think the Supreme Court realized how powerful that one decision was. I think they totally misjudged the effect that was going to have. So do you see that they've talked of other things like same-sex marriage has been codified, but they also felt that the Supreme Court would use that to chip away at contraceptives and so on. So I was just curious, in general, do you see a legal tsunami in 2023?
Here's what I'm seeing. And of course, this also happened, like I saw this in, what was it, May or something like that, where this is my attempt at drawing a justice. And the old wigs that they used to wear, that identified the little white wigs that they had or gray wigs that they had, are getting very small. So there's less justice and more dark money involved in their decision making. And I see that very clearly. That started at the beginning of the year. And I think that was before Roe v. Wade, wasn't it? That I started seeing that. And I'm like, how come I'm seeing them with this wig and it keeps getting smaller and smaller, or their heads getting bigger and bigger, like they don't have to follow justice. Something else is creating their the justice is coming from somewhere else, like somebody's dictating it instead of it coming from justice. So that wig is no longer valid anymore. Somebody else is at control. That said, I'm also seeing a change where they're starting to say, wait a minute. Some of the justices are saying, wait a minute, I don't want to be known like this. This is not what I became a justice for. And their conscience is starting to weigh at them in the decisions they're making. So does that make sense? And Susan, how does that feel?
Yeah, but I don't know, we have a conservative majority that truly does seem to be taking their orders from other than weighing justice for the sake of justice.
Yeah.
They have an agenda. They were put on a conveyor belt, you might say, to arrive at the Supreme Court justice with a real political agenda. So you're suggesting, I had felt, I think I had voiced this several months back, that I felt them becoming neutralized. Is that what you're suggesting?
There's definitely a shift there, a change that it's going to implode. That's how I'm experiencing it. Nancy?
Well, I think this speaks to what Lorelei was talking about. I think there's going to be civil rights movements starting again, and I think women are going to be one of the groups that rises again. I think that people are going to get louder and stronger with their words, and their actions, taking action around it. I think the generation that's been born and that's probably up to the age of like 15, 16, they're going to be like the 60s again. They're not going to put up with stuff. They're going to, try to, I don't know if they'll be as destructive, like burning things down or whatever, but they're going to demand that their voices be heard. So I think there's been, in my opinion, not great decisions made. And I think that the uncovering of the really basically immorality and, of the decisions that are being made, I think people are just not, it's going to get to a boiling point again.
But we, the people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's, again, finding our tribe, what Lorelei was talking about, coming together as a tribe. Yeah.
But I really think it's important to restate not coming together as a tribe with an agenda. Our ego, this is a year to let go of the ego and what is it we're looking for? A group that makes us right in our beliefs? Or are we looking for the truth? And this is, the 7 year is all about finding the truth in things. We're looking for the truth. The numbers don't lie. So I believe in numerology. That's a biggie for me. And then, and astrology, gives us the temperature, the cosmic temperature or cosmic weather of what things are set up for. And that Pluto, the transformation, or is it transformation I'm looking for? What is that?
Transformation.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Transformation of a lot of things. I feel like the energy's bringing in a lot of transformation in a lot of the old systems that we have had, and not just in the US. This is everywhere. We are not the only ones experiencing this stuff. It's all over the place.
And that's where tsunami comes in, Susan.
Interesting.
And I'm curious to see, I think the money system's going to change. I'm curious to see, it may take years. I'm kind of, my curiosity's picked, is how I'll say it, of like, well, what's going to happen here? I mean, we already have digital currency. That's not any surprise. Venmo, PayPal, all that's digital, Apple Pay. But what's the next thing? It's I don't know. It's kind of fascinating.
And I keep getting, hold on to money, hold on to cash, hold on to coins.
Be prudent, and be frugal.
Mm-hmm. This is definitely a time to be frugal.
Mm-hmm.
And as a lot of I'm doing all my own reconstruction in my house, remodeling, and Ferris is helping, and Gary's doing what he can. He doesn't know how to do it, but he says, just tell me what to lift and where to cut. And he'll help. But between Ferris and I, we've got it covered really well. I'm a good builder, and he can do all the electrical. He can do all the plumbing
Well,
stuff.
Gary's good at lifting and cutting too, though.
Yeah, he's getting really good.
You have something going on about floorboards, Now you have floorboards, and you just put in that deck. There's something with the flooring. What's underneath you?
The foundation. Yeah.
Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a 7 offers us our foundation, because that's the most spiritual number. That's our spiritual awakening. And this is a key year for you, Lorelei, because well, for both you and Nancy, that's right. You're both October
11th.
3rd,
Yeah.
so you're both 11, and that is spiritual awakening. That's walking through the gates of new understanding at a level that you've never experienced quite before. And again, this 7 energy, along with that 11, puts the wind strongly at your back. You just have to, the willingness just has to be there.
Mhm.
And I invite all of you numerologically to figure out, like, so we're in a 7-year, so just figure out your birth month. So mine's October, Lorelei, so that's 10. And then our birth date is 3. So that adds up to 4. The 1, 0 plus 3 is 4, plus 7 is 11. So that's how we got 11. So it's a really easy thing to do. And then you can Google like this year numerologically, whatever your number is. And I know, Cindy, you've done a post on something like that before.
Well, we just did a 2-hour program on that. So it's on our blog, energizelivingtoday.com/blog. And you can get it, but I'll just quickly, let me see, I've got here some of the keywords to pay attention to. And by the way, if you're in a master number, 11 is a master number, 22 is master number, 33 is a master number. And so you would pay attention to that and you don't reduce that down. So, right now, the collective consciousness, whoops, my papers are going flying, is the collective, that's the 7. It's the most spiritual number. This is where you look at your faith, your spirituality, and get your prejudice out of the way. I can't say that enough. Anytime we force our beliefs into our spirituality, things are not going to go good for us. So the ego is really being challenged this year. And I went through, I had my 7-year last year, and my ego got challenged at every turn. And now we are in a collective 7. So believe me, folks, give it up. If the self-righteousness comes in there, you're going to get hit bad. I can tell you, it will not work out well. So we got to let that go and really tap into divine consciousness and not what we think we know. Yeah, that was not easy for me. 1 year, that's new beginnings, everybody. Be creative, inventive, reinvent yourself, pioneer, try something new, try things on for size, see what you like. The number 2 is harmony, relationships. This is our connectiveness. This is really getting to know each other at a new level, reconnecting at a new level. It's balance and boundaries. Boundaries we were talking about before. That's a really big, setting boundaries with self. I will no longer talk about X in front of these group of people because it's a hot button. That's a boundary, folks. Learning. That's where you find yourself doing the, what do you call that? Where you got the hands in your, what's that called? So, help me out.
Arm wrestling?
Arm wrestling. Yes, you're arm wrestling yourself. I couldn't think of it, but the arm wrestling yourself, that's what it ends up feeling.
It took a while to figure out what the hell you were doing.
Sorry. If you're in a 3-year, this is time to call on the Ascended Masters. They are there for you. That's the number of the Ascended Masters, 3, the power of 3. Lorelei talks about that a lot, the power of 3, doing things in 3. This is a number of expansion, communication. It's possibilities, our creativity. It's also fun, joy, adventure. And it can be very difficult. It can really test us when we're in a 3-year. So look for that. 4 is stability, foundation, grounding. It is your safety, security, your values. Decluttering is really huge if you're in a 4-year. Get rid of stuff that no longer serves you. We should all be making space for new energy, for this shift in consciousness to take place. Get rid of stuff. If it's something that somebody loved and so you're keeping it because it has sentimental value, take a picture of it. Appreciate it. what Gary and I did, we gifted each other some stuff that we had a long time ago that we no longer use, and we gifted it to ourselves for Christmas, and then we gave it away. So we had the opportunity to receive it once again, to have that feeling of joy, and then we can get rid of it. And we took and we donate it. So there are ways to do that, to really raise your consciousness. The 5 years is all about change. This can be a very difficult year. It can be a rocky year if you're in a 5 year. This is freedom, free will. This is an opportunity for new adventure, new adventures in your life, a lot of shifts, but also a lot of chaos. So don't invite the chaos in. Like if it knocks, don't answer the door. We've got a 7 year going on. You don't have to answer the door in a 7 year.
Right. You could be in your jammies.
Yeah, you can be in your jammies. Just go inward and go, nah, I'm not going to answer that door. I already know what that's about. Been there, done
You'll know
it.
who it is.
What is that, Lorelei?
You'll know who it is.
Yep. So don't answer that door. 6, that's what we just went through. Is, in fact, a lot of people are saying they're reconnecting with people that they were divided from. Last year, that people started coming back into their lives. Well, that doesn't surprise me in a 6 year, because that's all about connections or relationships, love, belonging, family. But this is kind of the close-knit family. So that's a beautiful thing. It's healing, mending, all of those beautiful words that bring people back together. Ignoring it is what gives us pain. So if we're ignoring, if somebody reached out to us and we turned our back on them, then it's going to cause us a lot of internal strife. So, open that door for those kind of healing relationships. 7, again, spiritual growth, psychic awakening. It's the a lot of magic happens in a 7 year. 8 year is infinite potential. Everything we do in this 7 years, everybody, everything that we do this year is setting us up for that 8. 8 is abundance, infinite potential. It is, this infinity sign. Think of infinity. We have this opportunity to really embrace magic, embrace luck, embrace the beauty of who we are. It's also karmic. So whatever we do now, we're going to feel the results of it next year. So pay attention to that. And then your keywords for the 9, that's a completion year, finalizing a lot of stuff, getting rid of a lot of stuff, wrapping up old things that no longer serve you. It's also humanitarian. It's a humanitarian number. It's selflessness. It's also sharing lived wisdom with others. Really important if you're in a 9 year. Share your wisdom with others. So that's what I've got. I thought I would just share that real quick so we have it in this recording for everybody. And it is on our website. So any other questions before?
And Cindy, Elizabeth asked, what do you add up to get your year?
Okay, your month and your day along with this year. So it would be like mine is March 16th, and 2023 adds up to 7. So I would add the 3, the 1, the 6 together, and then the 7 to get to my 8 year. I'm in an 8 year right now. So the wind is at my back for anything that I want to do, and I'll have all the energy, and I was questioning that. But, Lorelei and Nancy, I was questioning whether or not I would have the physical energy to move forward with my new book, the marketing that I have to do, the wanting to grow Energized Living Today again, invite more people in as we expand consciousness. Do I have the energy? And everything has been saying, oh, hell yes. So I'm like, okay. Don't worry about it, just do it. I'm like, okay.
Well, there's Jupiter in Aries. Just do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Love it.
Yeah. So your spiritual words or your key words for this year, both of you at 11s, are spiritual awakening. It's a gateway, new understanding. It's spiritual growth, self-mastery. The things that scare you the most are the very things you embrace this year. And know that the wind is at your back. You'll be just fine.
Love it. Thank
And
you.
y'all, it's time to say goodnight, Gracie.
Yes, we need to come back and do this again. This was really fun, and I thank you all for the questions. I know that there's a lot of questions we didn't get to answer, but but we'll come back again. We'll do this again. I love you two so much. We have such great camaraderie. And Ferris, I love you too. But
I love you too, darling.
Oh,
Very, very much. This is my soulmate, y'all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you do this quarterly?
You
Can
know,
you do it?
I was thinking about that instead of every month because we were repeating a lot of the same stuff. Maybe quarterly we could do this. We'll talk about that and see if we can. And any thoughts to leave everybody with, Lorelei?
I would
just be done.
just say allow the access of a whole new level of being true to self, and really internalizing that if one is true to self, as Shakespeare said, thou canst not be false to any man. So a reconnection to that inner truth, and then taking that inner truth out.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I like that.
That is beautiful.
beautifully said.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Nancy?
I think we can leave on Lorelei's note. That was so beautiful. I can't. It was just gorgeous.
And Deborah, welcome. Welcome to our community. For those of you who are new to our community, I just want to say she was just saying it's the first time she's experienced us. And we just want to invite you to join
She'll never be the same again.
Yep. We're energizedlivingtoday.com. And we are a place where we have real conversations and we address the real deep issues of what's going on. So please come and join us. I love you all. I thank you, Nancy. I thank you, Lorelei. And, let's just take a moment and start our energy ball again and end with our energy balls. And just feel that energy, everybody. And now just pull your hands apart till you feel it. And let's just send it to each other. This beautiful healing energy, this love consciousness, this collective consciousness. I love you all. And
we love you right back.
Good night, wonderful people.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
We will see you on Sunday.
Bye.
Love and
Bye-bye.
blessings.
Bye-bye. See you on Sunday, everybody.
Bye.